Last year, the NCAA earned $900 million from the 3-week March Madness basketball tournament. Out of that $9 million, the players earned nothing. Considering the enormous profits brought in by the NCAA, what justifiable reason do they have to not compensate players? In 40 out of 50 states, college coaches are the highest paid state employees. There are collegiate athletic programs dropping obscene amounts of money on trivial things like scoreboards, locker rooms, and arcades. Why doesn't any of that money end up in the pockets of players, who are the primary generators of the NCAA's profit? It's appalling that some, often high-profile players have trouble covering the cost of basic necessities like food and transportation. College athletes generate a huge profit for the NCAA and their respective universities. These athletes need enough portion of the profit they help generate to cover at least the basics of food, shelter, transportation, and maybe even tickets for family members. It's only fair to use some of the money from the huge profits that are gained by these players to pay for college athletes for their contributions. If we begin to pay these college athletes, their time and talents will no longer be considered exploited. They'll benefit from what they're entitled to, and they'll be able to cover the cost of living with the money that they earn. Now, considering the many perks that college athletes already receive, it might seem excessive to compensate them even more. However, there's a deeper reality to the situation. As we've covered, college athletes receive absolutely no money from the substantial profits that they help generate. Title IX, a law that ensures the equal benefit of all college athletes despite their differing contribution to the success of their respective programs, is the major roadblock in paying college athletes what they earn. Some would argue that covering tuition for a 4-year university is enough to compensate these athletes. However, due to the intense schedule and high expectations of athletes to perform, especially those in D1 programs, the quality of their education is often subpar. The benefits of a 4-year education often don't apply to top-notch athletes. NFL star Richard Sherman has spoken publicly about this issue in a press conference, stating, "No, I don't think college athletes are given enough time to really take advantage of the free education that they're given." And it's often frustrating because a lot of people get upset with student athletes and say they're not focused on school and they're not taking advantage of the opportunity they're given. As a result of their financial state, many college athletes have difficulty covering their living expenses. High-profile athlete Shabazz Napier has publicly stated that he often has trouble paying for 3 meals a day. NBA legend Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has expressed similar sentiments about his time in college. There have been several scandals involving players illegally accepting aid from coaches and benefactors just in order to meet their basic needs. Now, even if athletes could be paid, what would that look like? The most just method would be to use some of the profit from the NCAA to compensate these athletes according to their contribution. However, to some, this seems like an impossible task. So there are other options. The money doesn't necessarily have to come directly from colleges or the NCAA, and it doesn't need to be paid to non-profitable athletes. First off, students could accept aid from coaches, benefactors, and other donors. There have been several scandals in college sports history involving student athletes accepting donations or gifts from donors. This is strictly prohibited by the NCAA, even if the receiving student athlete is in need. These scandals could be avoided simply by allowing these transactions to occur. Allowing students to accept gifts and donations would remedy much of the financial burden that many of them are under. It would also allow them to profit from their abilities and build partnerships with supporters. We could also allow these student athletes to accept sponsorships. The Washington Post on October 2nd, 2017, published an opinion article that stated that athletes are entitled to profit from their name, their likenesses, and athletic ability. Allowing student endorsements from outside companies would appease everyone. Only the best athletes would benefit, and it wouldn't cost the NCAA anything. In addition to alleviating the financial pressure that many athletes experience, allowing them to profit in some way would be beneficial for the NCAA's image and the future well-being of these athletes. Student athletes could prepare for a life after college sports. Only 2% of student athletes make it to the professional level, and for the rest of the 98%, the amount of time and effort they invest in college sports prevents them from pursuing other avenues of success like advanced academics or internships or extracurricular activities. It would also benefit these students to have something to show for their contributions to their sport. For those students who do go on to play professionally, it would be beneficial to have established a method of managing money that they earn. So often, student athletes move to the professional level, they make a ton of money, and they end up completely mismanaging their assets. Making a smaller amount of money, enough to cover their basic needs, and having access to agents and management early on could help remedy this problem and prevent bankruptcy later in their career. By compensating student athletes, the college sports arena would be more fair to those who hold the success on their shoulders. Student athletes sacrifice a lot in order to be successful for their teams and colleges. Fair compensation would place more value on what they contribute. In addition, the unfortunate reality that the NCAA, coaches, and colleges are raking in mounds of cash while the players receive nothing would no longer be an issue. The reputation of the NCAA would benefit greatly. The benefactors and fans who support and view college sports can feel justified in their spending. But after considering all of this, the question still remains. Why is this topic important? What can we do to promote change? It comes down to publicizing the moral principle of giving college athletes what they've earned through their time and talents. College athletes deserve a share in the profit that they help generate. Outside of academic scholarships, successful athletes are entitled to some sort of financial benefit, at least enough to cover their basic expenses. Raising awareness and vocally supporting compensation for college athletes could be a means for change. But because of their relative fame, the exploitation of successful college athletes doesn't seem like a likely possibility for most people. In turn, while this topic is hotly debated, it's not seen as something that needs to be urgently addressed. To create change in the way student athletes financially benefit from their performance, a large body of people must sympathize with the successful student athlete's challenging lifestyle and educate themselves on the realities of money and its distribution in the NCAA. In The Guardian, January 9th, 2018, NBA legend Kareem Abdul-Jabbar stated, "In Thailand, bony little boys as young as 9 and 10 are thrown into boxing rings to punch each other into bloody submission, while parents, relatives, and other screaming adults bet on the outcome. Youth sports or child abuse?" While most Americans feel outrage and revulsion at the idea, as a culture we're just as willing to toss our college-age kids into a gladiatorial arena to risk life and limb while we snack, guzzle, and wager on the outcome. All while compensating these young adults who are at risk with, relative to the money being made by sport barons, about the same as little kids we used to send into coal mines earned. A few coins and a lot of chronic ailments. With this in mind, it is clear that college athletes deserve a few bucks for their effort.